welcome back to Doing It All with Jess and M. I'm Jessica.
I'm Emily, and today we have a very exciting special guest, another guest. Wow, look at us. But today on the pod, we have one of our very good friends, Trevor Harr.
Everyone, welcome Trev to the podcast. Woo.
But, Trev, you can say hi.
Oh, hi. Hi. I didn't know, like, if I, yeah.
I was waiting for you to say something and you just didn't.
I didn't know. That went over my head.
You're totally fine. Um, well, before we get into our episode, today we're going to talk about college auditions and all those fun things. But first, happies and crappies, always. Should I go first?
Yeah. Yeah, you should go
Okay. All right. My happy to. Oh, wait. I want to do a crappy first. I'm going to do crappy. My crappy for today was definitely leaving my cat at the vet. I wanted to cry, but he's all good and it'll be totally fine. But seeing pets sad and in distress just makes me, I think it's because I'm already an emotional person. It just makes me so sad. Even if it wasn't Chonk, even seeing other pets at the vet clearly in distress just makes me want to cry and go cuddle them. But that's my crappy. And then my happy. I think my happy is honestly going to be seeing Chonk later. And that's kind of silly, but I think seeing him in a little cone and just being able to see him after not seeing him all day will be a little bit of a happy moment. Kind of
Aw.
silly, happy and crappies. They kind of go together, but yeah.
first. Seeing a cat in a cone is
I know.
like brighten your whole entire like year.
I'll send you guys pictures.
I want to see his like dirty look he has on his face when you're
You
like,
should have seen him this morning. He was so mad because we had to fast him. So
oh,
he was yelling at us. He was so mad. And yeah, but it'll be fine. But yeah, those are my happies and crappies.
My crappy is that our AC went out at work and it happened the other day too, and then it was fine and it went out again. I walked in this morning and I was like, oh no. And for my sake and for our members' sake, I'm just like, oh, this is so not fair. So, but it got fixed, so that's a good thing. Very temporary situation. Um, but it's just never fun. It's never a good time to work out
Mm-mm.
in a hot place, um, or to work in one. So, but I did take after I coached because I'm crazy, and it's great. It was a great class. Um, and then my happy is that yesterday I went to this little work event situation for Zach's work. It was like a happy hour. It was a happy hour, I guess. It was at 4:30. That's happy hour.
Hmm.
But it was at Top Golf, which is the only thing where I was like, happy hour? Yeah. But it was really fun. And I have never met his coworkers before. So it was really great to meet people that I hear so much about. And they're all lovely. And I kind of get PTSD from going to Top Golf because I used to work there. But it was actually really fun. So, yeah.
probably my crappy is I was gonna work on Grey's Anatomy yesterday, but they canceled the shoot. And I was going to be a paramedic, and I've heard it's a really great set to be on. But they canceled the shoot at the last minute, and so I was like, oh well, I'll just
Trev, that's such an not insane. That's so not what I was expecting you to say. Like, you just busted out saying, yeah, I was gonna be on a Grey's Anatomy shoot.
Well, yeah, it's just like it's just like so strange. I've been on a lot of like, well, not a lot, but like I've been on quite a few sets so far. Like I was on Quantum Leap, the newer Quantum Leap, and then I was on 1923, which is like the Yellowstone spinoff, and if you actually watch the episodes, like most of the ones, you can actually like see me in the episode, which is
That's so
pretty,
cool.
which I didn't expect because I'm just like a person at a frat party, and you can see me in the back with a weird looking 90s sweater.
Trevor frat party.
Yeah, frat party. I was that was for young Sheldon, and and the guy who was in Seinfeld actually directed the episode and like gave us direction.
That's
It's like
cool.
cool.
That's super
Um,
cool.
and probably my happy is on Friday I'm going to a Q&A for like a new movie coming out, and like the director is going to be there, and like the lead actress is going to be there, and it's Melissa Barrera. If like you've ever she was in like she's in like the new Scream movies.
Okay.
She's Jenna Ortega's like older sister. Um, but yeah, she's gonna be there. I was hoping Paul would be there, Paul Mescal. Um, because what a man. But like I could talk the whole podcast about him, but like but those are probably happies and crappies for this week.
Those are really cool happies and crappies.
Yeah, that's really cool.
We'll have to have you on again to talk about film stuff and
Yeah,
Yeah,
background
some
work.
but no, we're
background.
dipping our toes in awful college auditions.
We gotta start small.
Yeah,
Okay,
and
we'll
build
start
from
with the
there.
good ones, and then we'll.
And then we'll get to the more exciting things.
Yeah. Yay. I'm so happy you're here, Trev. Can you tell us about yourself? So the the podcast,
You
so
can
everyone can get to know you.
Yeah. Hi, podcast. Yeah. I'm Trevor Harr. I am 24 years old. I was born and raised in Kansas City, Missouri. Um, and I got into theater when I was about 11. It was like weird because a lot of people like found theater through like school. But like my little Catholic school didn't have theater, but they have theater now. But they didn't have any theater, and so my older cousin, who's like a couple years older than I am, got into like local theater in Kansas City, and we would go see him in shows, and I thought that was kind of cool. And my mom had an idea of like, oh, like he seems like he's like liking this, so I'm gonna sign him up for like a like a class during the summer, or like a theater camp, and it was for like a Shakespeare festival in Kansas City. It was like a 2-week camp where we would uh, talk about the show, and then we would cast the show, and then we would put up the show in 2 weeks, and we also had to be memorized. um I know, for like 11-year-olds doing Shakespeare, which is kind of stressful now that I kind of
Yeah.
think about it now. But but like it was like 5 days a week, so that was pretty much our summer for like those 2 weeks. But I thought it was really cool. And the show we did was Macbeth, and so I feel like that's the best kind of Shakespeare show to kind of dive into Shakespeare if you want to like learn Shakespeare. And so I played the king, and then I played the king's oldest son, um, which we cut out all the scenes where they have uh, scenes together. Um, but yeah, I was killed off stage, and then I came back as a new character, and it was really cool. I thought everybody there was really, really talented, and I thought the teachers like sparked the flame in me for like theater or something. But they established it really well, and then I just started like doing like other theater in KC. Like KC, I feel like is a good. It's I feel like it's not as good as it was, but it was like really cool to grow up in. There's like a lot of local theaters, especially for like kids wanting to do like theater. Um, then I went to high school, and then I kind of got more into like singing and musicals and all that type of stuff. Um, and speaking of high school and like that, college auditions.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like I didn't like do a lot of college auditions compared to like a lot of other people. Um, like I see some of the people who are like prepping for college auditions like a year in advance or like something, or like even like when they're juniors or like sophomores. And I'm like, I did not do that at all. Um, I didn't know anything really about like college or what college to go to, or like I only heard of like three schools that were like great, and that I like heard about Juilliard, and I heard about like Carnegie Mellon. So I didn't audition for Juilliard because like I was like, but it was really cool that one of my friends, uh, one of my friends who was like a senior when I was a freshman in high school, auditioned for Juilliard and for the vocal music program, and he got in. Um, and of course, he was like a great singer.
Oh, wow.
He was like a football player who like turned person who did choir, and then person who did theater, and no football, um, which I feel like the people who are in high school who like come from sports and then do theater, I feel like they get a certain amount of like theater people looking at them and being like, wow, those are our golden people. And I'm like, what about us kids who just like didn't do that at all? Um,
Yeah. I could
but
think of a few
yeah,
people that too.
yeah. And then they kind of got like all the attention or whatever. And I'm like, whatever. Yeah, I didn't really audition for many things, for many college places. I didn't audition for many colleges. I just remember like DePaul was like a big one. Um, and then like Marymount Manhattan, I auditioned for. I didn't audition in person, but I submitted like a video, and I don't think I ever got a response back. But like, oh well. But like DePaul was like really strange because it was like I had never been to Chicago, and the fact that I was going to Chicago for an audition was like strange because I had never like gone to a place for like an audition. Um, and they pretty much all brought us into this room, and I did this monologue from uh, I think it's uh, Dog Sees God. I did like the opening monologue from Dog Sees God, which when I went to Wesleyan later, Joan was like, never do that monologue for any audition. Uh, and I'm like, wow, thanks, Joan. Because it's like the character of Charlie Brown talking about how like Snoopy gets rabies and then he has to put him down, which I'm like, it's a great monologue, but like Joan was like, I don't know if this was Joan being Joan, but Joan was like, no one wants to hear about a dead dog in an audition. But I did that, and that was really cool. And then they like brought us in to do like some improv or like acting or movement exercises, um, which there were people in there who were like, I just auditioned to these places and this place and this place, and now I'm here. And of course, those were the people who got called back. And it was like a group of 20 of us, and they maybe picked like four. to like go on to the next audition. So I'm like, okay. Um, which they counted off all the names, and I'm like, what does that mean? And like my name wasn't in that, and I was like, does that mean like it? And then I went up to the list, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm gonna leave since they didn't call my name. Um, so I was like, oh well, and then it just like ended like that's the weird thing about like college auditions. Like you think, oh my gosh, going to this college will be great, and then you like you not getting into the program is like they act like it's like super casual, and then you're like,
Yeah.
okay, that's like it then.
I think sometimes because you kind of forget you're auditioning for your professors. You
Yeah,
could be professors and even some students that currently go there. Uh, so it's it's such a strange experience when you think about it.
it is.
It really is.
Yeah, it's like weird because also like the students were there and they were like, one of them casually mentioned that they knew Joe Keery, and that was like the beginning of like Stranger Things,
Yeah.
because Joe Keery went to DePaul, and so like thinking back on, well, first I was like, oh, Joe Keery, that's cool, because like Stranger Things season 1 had come out, and so he wasn't the Steve that we all know and love.
Yeah.
um he was like an asshole, but like
Yeah.
with like his one scene at the end of the show, and that was it. um
Yeah.
but now if someone were to told me that, I would be like, oh, that's my boy. But like just like thinking back on that like students like mention that like in front of like prospective students, that's like us like going up to like new prospective students and being like, well, Emily Kenny went here, have you seen Walking Dead? Which is weird,
Yeah.
which is like strange. Or being like, oh, we're like the top, we're like one of the top 10 acting schools, or whatever, or whatever we were on some website, and directing them to like the thing we had posted up on the wall or whatever. But that was DePaul, and that was kind of like the first kind of professional college audition. And then I auditioned for AMDA, uh, and I did a different monologue, and they actually came to Kansas City for some reason to do like open auditions, and like I was kind of more interested in like doing the musical theater kind of department because that's what like I was kind of focusing on, because like I went from like listening to no Broadway cast recordings to listening all the Broadway cast recordings at like one time. And so I was doing that. But then and then I like got into AMDA, which was kind of cool. And I was like, um, but then like but then I later learned like that like some people call it like scamda. um well, I didn't know that when I got in, so I was like, oh my gosh, this is where I'm going to be going, and I'm going to be in LA going to college. um and they also like I thought like one thing that kind of stuck with me with that audition is like I did a monologue and I did a song, but they wanted me to come into the acting program. And I was like, wow, that's like, because I was like, I didn't really kind of pay much attention to the monologue as much as I did the song, but they wanted me to be in the acting program, which I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
um,
I feel like when you're a singer too, it's easier to act through song, especially when you're very green still.
yeah,
It's more comfortable.
yeah, and especially since I wasn't and currently am still not a good dancer. uh, I think it was like the first class. I think you were in that class. Like my freshman year, I was in like the dance class with that one
I
lady.
was.
I was in like dance. It was like dance two. I don't know why I was in dance two. I was in dance two because all the slots for dance one, I was already taking other classes.
Yeah.
Um, So I was like, and then I like, I was just like the worst in the class, and I was like the only freshman in the class with like,
Yeah,
and I'm like, not only am I the only freshman in this class, but I'm also the worst dancer in the
oh
class.
no, you're so sweet though. I still remember because that's the semester I took off, so I was there for 3 weeks. We were in that cabaret together, and I was like, this kid can sing. I did get a little annoyed with you when we were in All Shook Up together. I was like, this kid.
Yeah, I know you. I know you would. I was getting annoyed with myself during that.
But I love
Mainly
it.
like when we did that like dance in like the bar or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like
But
just front and
yeah,
center. It's like this is
yeah.
not what
Sorry, I was.
I
So Trev, you auditioned for DePaul, AMDA, Marymount Manhattan, and then was Wesleyan just one of the last ones then, or did you audition for any other ones?
Wrestling was probably like one of the last ones.
Tell
Because
us
like
about that one.
I like looked at most of my college auditions like after the deadline had already passed. I was like, oh well.
Mm.
I didn't know that. My parents also didn't know that. And so like and also like none of like the people who were like seniors of mine were like, hey, just like when you're auditioning for college, just make sure and do this. Like nobody was like that for me. So I was like, oh well. Like most of like the kids who like went to my high school like didn't end up pursuing theater past high school. Um, or they ended up just going to like local places, but I also did not want to go to a local place. But it was really cool. One of the camps that I took for Shakespeare of the summer, Chase was in it. And that's how I knew Chase.
This is
Uh, and so I think my mom was like looking on Facebook and she saw that Chase was going to Wesleyan. And so she just kind of made a note of Wesleyan. And so we were like, why the hell not like audition for like Wesleyan? And then like at least go look at it. We can always just drive there.
oh,
And so,
I didn't know that.
yeah, but yeah, I went and looked at Wesleyan and it was really weird. Like it seemed like because I was interested in Wesleyan, I got into the program, which I
Yeah.
feel like it's different now, but I feel I feel like it's not like putting us down or anything. I feel like they just really wanted people to come to the and be a part of the theater
Yeah.
program. Which I did a monologue and then I sang Beautiful City. Um, and then which I felt like they just like entertained the fact that I was like auditioning. Like it wasn't like a real audition. And then
Yeah.
like I sat in on a class in an acting class that Jack was teaching. And I think you guys were like working on Into the Woods or something. And then the rock and roll cabaret was going on.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and I didn't know what a cabaret was, and I thought you guys were doing Cabaret the musical. And
That
they
later on.
invited me to come see the Rock and Roll Cabaret, but they didn't call it the Rock and Roll Cabaret. They just said cabaret. And I'm like,
Good cabaret too.
yeah, like and then like Joan was super happy that I sang Beautiful City. Like when I had like a meeting with Jack and Joan, she was like singing Beautiful City, like in the background of like Jack talking. Um,
That's such a Joan thing.
I know. Um, and then like I had like a couple other monologues like tucked into the back of my pocket, like just in case. But it was never like I wasn't ready with them. But I was gonna say, oh, I have anything else you want to see? If they would have said yes, then I would have been like screwed. But like, oh well. Um, but it was super casual, which I appreciated it about. It wasn't like, hey, we're a great program, and it's an honor for you to come and audition for our program. Um, it's just like strange, but like, um,
Yeah.
and then like a couple weeks later, like I kind of already knew that I got into Wesleyan after that because like Jack and Joan made it seem like I did. Um, it's Jonathan. He's coming on the pod too. Double feature. Um, oh yeah, and I also auditioned for South. I think it's Southeast Missouri State. Um, which I mean, it's a cool college. It was in a cool location. It was like right by a river, which would have been really cool. But I don't think I ever really entertained the fact of me going there just because I was like, I don't want to go to college in Missouri after I've lived in Missouri my whole life. Uh, but and like when we went to visit the college, I was more fascinated by the fact that they filmed Gone Girl in like the area. Uh, so I was like, oh my gosh, we got to go to all these shooting locations and everything. Um, which like I always knew that I wanted to do film, but I was like, but I also heard like contradictory like facts of like, well, if you just do theater, like film is easy. Or like some people were like, oh, film is not the same as theater. It's just completely different. Um, so I like didn't really know what to do with that. So it's just like I just like picked a good program that I was like, well, this seems like a good program and it seems like my best like shot at the moment. So I might as well like hop on the train. Um, and then I don't know if you guys know this, but when I did like the freshman thing, like in June, like the summer before, uh, I was listening to Come From Away, because I didn't know anybody there, and I feel like some people already knew each other there, so I'm like just gonna listen to music by myself in
Yeah.
between going to these lectures or whatever. And Noah Jeffrey was like, asked me, like, he was like, oh, what do you think of that album? Um, and that's where we met. And that was before we even got assignments for roommates. So that was really cool. Um, and then when I got the assignment for like being a roommate, I remember he was like, yeah, Come From Away is good. Not enough solos in that show. Which I mean, to give him credit, he's right. But like, I saw it like on the West End, and it was like one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. It like made me cry.
I saw
Uh,
it
Yeah.
with Tylee took me to Come From Away sophomore year.
it's a great, yeah. I mean, it's a great show. Um, but yeah, that's where I met Noah, which was really cool.
That's
And
so
then, so
funny.
I'm kind of like thinking, like I didn't put anybody's name in, but like Noah and I met at the freshman thing. So I didn't put Noah's name down, but there's a part of me that's thinking maybe he put my name down for
Oh,
like room assignments or whatever. Um, and then I found out that it was him, and I was like, what are the odds? And of course, like Noah was like the I thought he was kind of strange at the beginning, because he was like, because he was like in some uh class where they like went camping like 2 weeks before school started, um and he went
My
like,
freshman year was
yeah, it's like a
yeah.
weird, oh, I'm like, I'm glad I didn't do that. I'm glad that mine was kind of like oriented around theater because I was in like the Hamlet seminar.
Me too.
Um, but uh essentially, yeah, that's like my college like audition experience. Like a little underprepared, but like but it worked out. So so I feel like I feel like if you want to prepare like more than what I did, then like that's probably the best. But like but also like it'll work out if you like if you want it to work out, I feel like.
hmm I was also super underprepared.
Yeah.
I auditioned, I think, for two schools. And before I auditioned for Wesleyan, because I went to Unifieds, and that is terrifying. Because, like what you were saying earlier, where some people were sitting there going, oh, this is my 10th audition for this school, and I auditioned for this one. There were so many people like that, and I was very overwhelmed and not prepared, and there was nobody telling me, Emily, look at these deadlines. Emily, you need this headshot. Emily, you need this. Like, I was nothing. And I remember before auditioning for Jack and Joan, I sat in a stairwell and cried to my mom about how I almost didn't want to audition, about how I literally was like, I'm not going to do this. And I think she yelled at me and said, "No, you're going to do this." And I
What?
did.
Yeah. I remember like um yeah, I remember like when I didn't when I was told that I wouldn't be like going to Lambda because it was like too expensive. Um I was like, well, there goes my dream. Because I didn't like know it was like a scam, like a scam. Like and I was like, there goes my dream. Like, what am I supposed to do? Um and also like the first day at Wesleyan, I cried because I
Mhm.
was like, I don't know anybody here. I was like, I'm gonna have an awful time. But I also like did the same thing in high school because I didn't know anybody in high school.
Hard. And college is so weird. It's so weird. You're a little baby, you're 18, you're being sent away all by yourself.
Mhm.
Yeah,
We all went to school out of state from our home states, so there's that as well. I mean, I knew Jonathan and like kind of knew Katie Octor. I'd met her like once or twice. And hi, Katie, love you. And I had done theater with Nadia in the past, and she was a grade above me, so I like kind of knew her, but not super well. And I was still so nervous,
Mhm.
so nervous. So it's normal. So yeah,
and I feel like auditioning for like college is like that's probably like your or one of your first steps in like auditioning for like kind of like professional things.
Mhm.
yeah,
It's also like super stressful because then you do get the kids who are like, I just that was my 10th school that I have auditioned. I just got back from New York and I auditioned for this and this and this, and I'm like, well, I'm not
Yeah.
like that person, so I guess I'm gonna fail.
That's how I felt. And I think that's why I had a meltdown in a hallway,
Yeah.
in a stairwell, because everyone around me was so prepared and so much better. I don't know the right word, equipped, like better prepared, and just everyone just felt better. And I was like, well, if I can't do this here, how am I supposed to do this in the real world?
Yeah.
But I went to school and I did it, and now I'm living in Chicago, so.
Same with like auditioning, which I kind of feel like auditioning for shows like at college is kind of like the same experience. It's like it's like, well, if I can't get into a show here at my school, how am I supposed to make it into the real world?
Yeah.
It's not all like, of course, not necessarily like true
Hmm.
100% of the time, but like,
my audition experience. Guess it's my turn now.
yeah, it is.
Um, I had a very long process for mine. I had a group of people. Jonathan was one of them. Katie was kind of in it. We had an acting coach, and it was a group of us. She picked out monologues for us. So we had comedic, dramatic, Shakespeare. She picked out songs for us. I had up tempo ballad. And then I think I had other songs that I was comfortable singing in my book in case they were like, "Do you have another up tempo or whatever?" I did get asked to sing other songs, but I never got asked to do another song. So if I like sing my ballad, anyway, that's a whole thing. But so did that. We went through the process. There's this whole meeting involved. she would pick out schools for us, and she had kind of relationships and connections with some of the professors at these schools that we'd audition for. And it was really helpful because I was somebody that was very green, that wanted to do this so badly, but didn't even know how to do it. So I'm so grateful for her. And she was just at my little community theater that I started going to when I was a junior in high school. Um, and so that is honestly was the biggest help for me. And I'm very grateful for it. And I auditioned for, she gave me like 12 or 15 schools. And there are some schools where I was like, no. And then there was also some schools where I was like, kind of wish I just put my foot down about this one, but was like, it's not going to hurt to audition, but I don't want to go here. So why am I stressing myself out about it? Um, and I did the whole Unifieds thing. And yeah, but we met in the summer before senior year, like June, July ish. And then that August, we started workshopping things. And then, yeah, the rest of the year was auditions. So I believe, so Wesleyan came to Houston, and my audition for Jack and Joan, it was really chill, which honestly was kind of what I needed. I think they were my first or second audition, and it was probably October, November when I auditioned for them. They were welcomed right away. It was really, that was really great. But Wesleyan was, I did not want to go there. It was like Nebraska. No. I forget about Nebraska, that it exists. It's just a state that I learned when I learned all the states. Like, what's there? Um, but yeah, my experience was good. I mean, I got accepted academically, got accepted to the program. Um, I found out later on that I was accepted to the program. And when I went to Unifieds, I went to go see them again, and we talked about scholarships and stuff like that at Unifieds. And I'll get into Unifieds in a second. I auditioned for DePaul, also in Houston, and I wanted to do musical theater. I didn't want to do acting, so I didn't know why I auditioned for DePaul. But again, like my acting coach, went to DePaul years and years and years and years and years ago, so that is why I was like, she was like, it's so great. And I was like, okay, of course. Like, why not? Again, audition experience is never going to hurt you. And if you don't care about those schools, I wish I looked at it and like, I don't care about really going here. I'm just going to use this as experience.
Yeah.
So, also, side note, I think that college auditions is not just auditioning for college, it's also applying academically and doing all the things everyone else does. And then you have college auditions on top of that.
Yeah.
So it's like even more of a
And a
whole
whole
thing.
nother letter that you have to wait for.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, you can get accepted academically, but not musical theater. And that's why so many people that are doing musical theater, acting, whatever, are casting such a big net. Because, and I don't know how true this is, but it's probably pretty accurate. But auditioning for musical theater programs, acting programs is like the acceptance rate is familiar or similar to an Ivy League acceptance rate.
Yeah.
So that's insane.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about auditioning for college or you have done it, congrats, because it's hard. It's not easy.
It's really hard. And also,
Um,
I didn't like the college programs that were like you have to audition every year or every semester for the program.
neither did I.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hate so
those
many
were
programs like that.
yeah. I was
Yeah,
like that. Like
I'll
it's really stressful. just to do like the first audition, but I feel like it'd just be I feel like it'd just be more stressful for me just to be like,
Yeah.
well, now I'm going to the college that I'm paying for, but I'm also like not in the program that I came to the college in to begin with. So like,
Yeah, that's crazy. There was one school I auditioned for, I didn't get in. It was one of the only other schools I did audition for. They at the audition, they straight up told all of us that yeah, you as freshmen probably won't be in a show until your junior year. Like we wouldn't even be in a main stage show until a junior year. So
See, and
yeah,
I hated that.
like that's insane to me. You're telling me I'm
Why
getting a
am I going to college if I'm not getting the
exactly.
experience of actually
Yeah.
being in the show?
yeah,
Which is why Wesleyan was so appealing
Hmm.
to me. So
Oh, and
I will
Jess,
say that.
you kind of mentioned this, but it made me think of too, it is so crazy how just by wanting to do musical theater, it limits where you can go to because so many schools only had acting.
They really did. Yeah. And I auditioned for a lot of those schools.
Me too.
I liked a lot of those schools too.
It was more I wanted to audition there, but I didn't want to do acting.
Yeah. Which in the long anyway, could talk forever. I went to TCU to audition there, but I didn't really want to go to school in Texas. The only Texas schools that were on my radar were Texas State and UT, and I didn't even audition there. So, and this is also my thing. I really wish that I would have, even if I didn't get in or didn't audition, I really wish I would have applied to other schools instead of that I really liked, sitting to my coach and being like, oh, I'm just gonna go here. But it's already so much work that it's so exhausting, and not to mention like SAT, essays, scholarships that you're applying for. Like it's there's so much that goes into it, so you do get to a point where you're just so exhausted. But yeah, those two schools like Emerson, Michigan, like I wouldn't have gotten in there, but I still wish I would have auditioned.
Mhm.
Um, but anyway, I yeah, went to TCU, auditioned there. I hated it. Everyone like loves TCU. And if you went there and you loved it, that's great for you. I didn't understand the appeal of the campus that's like so pretty. I was like, I don't like this. Um, and then I went to Unifieds after that. And at Unifieds, I saw Wesleyan again. I auditioned for SMU, for Ball State, for University of Evansville. And University of Evansville, I had an incredible audition experience. I loved them. They were great. And I sang for them, but it was just an acting program. But
Mm.
they did two musicals a year, but that was like not enough for me. Um, so, again, but I loved the people that I auditioned for. That was a really good experience. I auditioned for UNCSA. I auditioned for Cal Arts. I had no interest in going to California. I didn't want a conservatory program, so like I don't know. I auditioned for UNCSA. I had a really good audition experience with them as well. Ball State, I really liked Ball State, but my audition for that was chaotic because if you have been to Unifieds, you can run behind time, and then you have to be at a dance call for the school, but you're still in the room for them. And I had two separate auditions for Ball State, one for musical theater, one for acting. And in my musical theater audition, I felt really good about it. And then I went to the dance call, and the dance was a lot of fun, but I was rushing, changing, running across the hotel to get to the ballroom where they had the dance call. It was crazy. And it is really intense. Just like I mean, it's just a lot. You see so many people there that have been doing theater their entire life, and I had been doing theater since I was 12, 11, 12, but I didn't actually start pursuing it seriously until I was like 16. So I was like, I do not deserve to be here. Imposter syndrome
No,
before I even knew what
literally.
that
I was just about to say I
was.
feel like an imposter.
So, oh, I was gonna audition for Roosevelt in Chicago, but ended up just not wanting to. I couldn't afford it anyway. I was gonna audition for this small school called Catawba in North Carolina, but it was so small, and so I was like, maybe not. And then when I was at Unifieds, I could have you can audition for schools that you haven't applied to yet, and I don't know, they can do something where like I auditioned here, let me send in my application now because you can put in an application pretty quick, once you have everything already done and like kind of in a draft and everything. It's very easy to then send things out everywhere. um, but I didn't do that because again, it's just exhausting.
Either.
Uh, oh, DePaul, I had a very similar audition experience as you did, Trevor, at DePaul. So when you were saying that, I was like, yep, sounds right.
Oh, it's just strange. And then I heard that I heard like that Juilliard's like audition was like the exact same way.
Hmm.
Like
Oh, really? I mean, I
you
can
know,
imagine. Yeah.
like you just
Yeah.
kind of built up this big like thing, like and you know that you auditioned for this huge big school, and then like you find out within 2 seconds, basically.
Yeah. No, I like found out. I was like, cool. It's just fine.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, yeah.
Yeah. I but yeah, I mean, oh, I auditioned for Webster and I loved Webster. Oh my God, I love them. I really wanted to go there. I really loved the people I auditioned for. I loved the program. I also auditioned for Montclair State and I really liked their program as well. I think I would have hated it though. Like I think I would have hated going to school in New Jersey. I yeah, that was kind of my unified experience. Uh, got into Wesleyan. I got into almost all my schools that I applied to academically, and then maybe waitlisted at like SMU, but I did not care to go to SMU at all in the slightest. um, and I hated my audition with them. They were awful. Like they were so mean. And so I just got it. I was like, yeah, whatever. Like I just got it out of the way. It was like one of my first state unifieds. Um, but and got like a lot of academic scholarships because I was applying to a lot of liberal arts schools.
Mm-hmm.
And when you apply to a lot of small schools, it is a little bit easier to get academic scholarships. Um, but they're usually more expensive, so that's also why. um, and so when I then got my acceptances to musical theater programs, I had to like sit down and like talk about it. And I got into Ball State theater studies 5-year program, where after your freshman year, you could audition for the musical theater program again. And I was just like, this is exhausting. Like, I don't know if I want to. And my audition experience with Ball State was so chaotic that I was just like, but I did like their program a lot.
I toured there, but I didn't like the school.
Yeah, yeah. See,
I
and I don't liked going there.
yeah,
I
like I remember
um
being there like this is it. This is the program that everyone loves because every other part of the campus is like beautiful and great and then the theater program is it wasn't. I'm sure it's a great program, but I also know someone who went there and then dropped out. So, if that's saying any and
yeah,
then went to a different school. So, I don't know. No shade, no tea.
yeah,
I wasn't a fan of where it was or the camp like that big of a fan of the campus.
yeah. I didn't even go visit there. I went to go visit Wesleyan after I had gotten, like, I mean, I knew I was accepted. So I went to go visit Wesleyan. And if I was like, if I absolutely hate Wesleyan, I will go visit Ball State and probably go there and just suck it up and do that. But I did not want to do theater studies. I wanted to declare musical theater, go in there, 4-year program. That is what I wanted. when you're 18, you're so stubborn, and I wish, hindsight's 2020. I wish I looked at it so differently than I did at that time, but again, it's all a learning process. So, um, yeah, and then I think I got waitlisted at Evansville, but it was acting program, and then I think TCU. Um, yeah, but I didn't want to go to TCU either. So, yeah, Wesleyan was just kind of where I guess I felt like God was pointing me to. Uh, and I think for the most part, like college wasn't like I took college for granted 100%. And I think because we were in Lincoln, I was like, oh, get me out of here. And I can talk about this another time because it doesn't really go with what we're doing. But there's a lot of times where I thought about leaving Wesleyan and switching schools completely, switching majors, like all
Mm-hmm.
sorts of things. So, I mean, like, I think it's also important to know that every college program experience also looks very different. Um, it can look so pretty and beautiful and shiny, and then you get there and you hate it or you love it or it's really surprising. And I think also, like, I mean, we said this before, but Wesleyan did so many shows that it was just incredible. And I did feel like pretty nurtured for the most part. And um, like we were able to get good classes. We had good classes and had enough experience auditioning for all the shows that we did that by, senior year, I was like, hey guys, I walked into an audition. And then you graduate and you experience that all over again. So you start here and you slowly go up.
I was just gonna say, I think for like anyone listening who's like either done with school, trying to like go back to school, trying to go to college, whatever you're doing, um, obviously like us three right now, would not have met if it wasn't for our college choices, words. Wow. We would not be in the cities that we are now if it wasn't for like that decision, for meeting the people we did. So like it'll work out.
It'll all work
Even if
out.
the time at the time those college auditions felt like a lot, because now we're here
Yeah.
and now we like obviously have created really good friendships and
Yeah. I
it.
really
Yeah,
think that's the thing I'm most grateful for about college is the people that I met and the friendships that I made.
Mhm.
yeah.
I think so
I-
too.
Yeah, I think like the reason why I didn't like focus on college auditions as much is because I was kind of like focusing on the shows I was doing at my high school because I
Mhm.
was like,
Yeah.
it's the most immediate thing right now. Um, and then like when I went to Wesleyan, I would like blow off classes, but then I would be like fully into shows that I was like doing. Um, and like some of probably most of the best shows I've ever been part of were with Wesleyan.
Mhm.
And I mean, there were good people who went there, and I feel like most of the teachers were great, and they kind of and yeah, there was like bad stuff like about Wesleyan, of course, but like I
That's
feel
any
like
school.
it's any
Every
school.
school,
Yeah, that's
anyone, any program, they also have negative experiences as well.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I have a friend that
like
went to Ithaca and she hated it.
yeah,
So she was like, just trying to get out, and Ithaca is one of those colleges that it's like, this is so wonderful and great. So, it's not, again, it doesn't, you can, there can be a program you've never heard of and you could get the best training ever
well, it's
or
all of what you make of
amazing.
it too.
And yeah, it's
I
so
feel
true
like
as well.
that's also because obviously, like most people be like Nebraska Wesleyan, what's that? It's not Juilliard, but
Yeah.
I would argue that we had just as good of like an education and an experience as some people at Juilliard. And obviously, some people listening who maybe went to Wesleyan are like, "What the hell are they talking about?" Like, I hate it there, But that's like why it's just so different. Like, don't if you are if you are a high school student picking a school right now, do not let outside factors like really weigh in because your experience is going to look so different from everyone else's.
So if you're kind of like relying on you going to a certain school to be the reason why you're being cast, then like what are you doing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so true.
Or yeah,
So true.
if you're only going to a school because like, well, this will look good on my resume. It's like, bestie girl, you even getting an education is already looking really good on your resume. I don't think they really care where you went.
Um,
I will
especially,
say,
yeah,
oh, sorry, Trev.
you got.
Yeah. I will say, at the end of the day, when you get out into like the real world, nobody cares where you go to school.
Mhm.
No one cares. Like, yes, connections are so important and your training is important, but like no one cares. As you're if you're talented and
And
you
kind and
know
humble. Like, if
right,
you are talented and kind, that's all that matters, honestly.
and you know the right people, you're gonna get cast.
I know, because
So
when I studied like abroad, there were like a lot of people. Um, there were like a couple people who were from like Carnegie Mellon, like Mellon and like Boston University, but they kind of like if I would have like if like I wouldn't have been surprised if I met those same people like at the college that I went to because I'm like we're all just kind of pretty much trying to do the same thing kind of so like yeah. And also, like, yeah, if I didn't go to Wesleyan, I probably wouldn't have had the idea to like study abroad because like I found like Natalia like studied abroad, and then I was like, wow, that would be really cool to do that. And then like Olivia did that, and and I was really and still I'm close friends with Olivia. Um, the beginning of like 2020, um, and that was like probably the best like time of my life so far that I've had was like studying abroad, and it was really cool.
I hate to cut it off, but I have to leave to pick up Chonk.
I know. Well, I would like to also say really quick that this is our experience, and I was auditioning for college in 2014 and 2015. Yes, yeah. And so college auditions definitely look a little bit different than they do now. And I do not have, I don't, unless y'all know, like, I do not have the current updates and
Okay.
resources on that. But an amazing source, if you are looking for college auditions, her name is Maggie Barra.
Oh
She
yeah.
has a podcast called Actor Aesthetic. You can Google it, look up her blog, look up her podcast. She's such a good resource. Also, like an amazing businesswoman. Majored in musical theater at Texas State, is like killing it in New York. She is a hustler,
Mm-hmm.
and so she really is. And so I think that she's a really great person to follow if that's something that you're very interested in listening to her pod, even if you're out of school and you don't know that you don't you like are interested and like want to know what's going on, or maybe you want to help people audition for college. She's a great resource to look into, and also just being an actor in general
Yeah.
and equity and auditions and just self tapes, everything,
I was just about to
mental
say
health.
that, but
Yeah, so Maggie Vera and then actor aesthetic. So
Trev, do you have anything you want to say or add before we end this long episode?
What should I add something?
I
What
don't
should
know. Do you have anything you feel like you want to say? Or
yeah, I mean uh like there was a like a kid who like because like during the in between year of me moving here and me graduating, I like did this thing where I went and taught safe sex to kids, and and it was like through a theater in Kansas City, and we like kind of and we like did monologues, and then we did like a Q&A with like kids, and or they were like high school kids, so they weren't like
Kids.
they weren't like kids, like high school like people. So just to make sure those people don't come after me. Um, but it was like there was a kid who came up to me when I was, and it was like I just like did a dramatic monologue, and then I basically was like, hey, this isn't my life, but this is a person's life that like this is real. Um, and there was like a kid who like came up to me, and he was like a freshman, and he was like, I really want to do what you're doing,
Aw.
and
That's
I think
really
you were really good. And he was like, what college did you go to, and how did you know what college you wanted to go to? And he was like a freshman, and so I was like, and I was like, if you want to do this, like you do it, like don't let anybody like stop you. And then like I was like, you also are like a freshman, you don't need to be like worrying about like college, like
Mm-mm.
yeah, like
but
you just got
rounded into that.
you just got to live like your life, and like um you just kind of got to enjoy like what you're doing, because if you don't enjoy what you're doing, if you then go to college and then you're still doing that same thing, then you're like, then you're just gonna not find enjoyment out of it. So
Mhm.
uh, yeah,
That's so sweet.
So true.
it
Yeah.
was really sweet. He was a sweet little guy.
Aw. Well, we thank Trev for being on this episode today. I'm sure he'll be back again.
Yes. I would love to have you back, Trevor. I'm
And
so happy I get to talk to you. I missed you so much. It's been a long time. So this
it's been
was
a long time.
amazing.
I think it's been like me looking to the sky for answers. I think it's been like 2019 since
Hmm.
we last like saw each other.
Yeah, it has been. That's when I graduated.
Yeah.
I saw Trev in 2021.
So,
Yeah, a little
yeah.
more recent because Trev and I graduated together.
And
No, but
I'm
I
sure that
really feel like the two of y'all, my southernness. Um, I hate that we didn't become friends until my senior year.
Mhm.
But also, I mean, part of that is because different times, and again, like I left junior year for a hot minute, and so yeah. But I'm so grateful that I did. Like, I do have y'all as friends, so it's all meant to be.
I was just about to say it was meant to happen that way. And anyone listening, I hope that you feel maybe a little bit better about college auditions. You're not alone. If you've already
yeah,
done it, you
for
feel
you,
us.
it's not
Yeah,
the end. It's like not the end of the world if you don't go to like a big named school.
Yes, I agree.
so true. Absolutely.
Well, thanks for listening.
Great. Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see y'all next time.
All of the links and stuff will be in the little bio as always. But see you next week. Bye.